Good evening and welcome to This Week at Little Hills. I'm so glad to be with you as we continue our journey through 52 verses from 52 books in 52 weeks. We've seen a lot of territory in our journey so far, and this week we're turning to the book of Lamentations, which I thought was appropriate on this day after our 20-year anniversary of remembering 9/11. I think yesterday probably brought up a lot of memories for a whole bunch of us. Memories of where we were on that day, remembrances of how things have changed, what it was like before, what it is like now. Thoughts about how many people today don't even remember a time that life was like it was on September 10th, 2001. There's all those things that go through our heads and personal tragedies interwound around 9/11 and simply things that we face, tragedies and sadnesses and struggles that we face today, that as we look at that huge worldwide tragedy, we're reminded of the things going on in our lives. What do we do in those times? Well, Jeremiah wrestles through that in the book of Lamentations. He's wrestling through watching Jerusalem fall and be burnt just like we watched the Twin Towers fall. He's watching the temple of the Lord be destroyed, the very symbol of God's presence with his people. What is he to do in those moments? And on top of all that sort of societal tragedy that he's taking in and the pain he feels internally because of that, like we may have felt watching that attack, so too Jeremiah is reflecting on how people oppose him. He's reflecting on both broad societal tragedy and tragedy in his own life. All of us face tragedy. All of us face hardship. And it's hard to know how we face it. How do we actually face it? How do we overcome it? What do we do when there's no foreseeable answer in the future, just like Jeremiah is facing here? He knows that the answer isn't coming quickly. He knows that the worst hasn't necessarily even come. But what does he do in the middle of this lamentation, in the middle of this lament over what has come, what will come? This is what he says. He says, "Yet this I call to my mind," chapter 3, verse 21, "Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail." Jeremiah is looking at everything going wrong. He's personally suffering. His people are suffering. The city he loves is suffering. What does he remember? God is faithful. And Jeremiah reflects on how God has been faithful in the past. And in that, Jeremiah has the confidence that God will be faithful in the future. And of course, we know that Jeremiah wasn't hoping in vain. We know that God did show his faithfulness to his people then, and that he used that faithfulness to move to the greater faithfulness he shows us all in coming and dwelling amongst us and redeeming us through the work of God incarnate, Jesus Christ. What do we do when we face times that we want to lament and we want to cry out, "Why, God, are you doing this? How can you be doing this? Have you forgotten us?" We too can say that his compassions never fail, and we can look to the work of Jesus for that. We can look to the ways that he's worked in our lives in the past to see that. We can turn to his word where we're assured of his faithfulness. May we do that today and every day. I hope you'll join me tomorrow night. We'll continue thinking about this. We're beginning a brand new series called Peace, thinking about how we live in God's peace when we don't feel peaceful. And one thing I think is very clear at the moment, most of us don't feel at peace. Right now our world feels upside down. How do we receive God's peace in a time that feels like it is without peace? Hope you'll join me tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for that. And in the meantime, I'll be praying that you do feel God's peace. And if there's a way I can be praying specifically about that, I'd love to hear from you. Send me an email at the email address on screen, or you can leave a comment in the comments below. I love hearing from you. I love getting to pray for you. I love when we can pray together. It's always great to hear from you. I'll see you tomorrow night, and I hope you have a blessed and wonderful week.